This problem is a problem from the November 2020 Cambridge examination, and I just want us to look at the first one. You are supposed to prove an identity and then use the identity to solve an equation. So let's get through quickly. So we have solution. We prove from the left to the right. So I have 1 divided by cosine x minus a tangent x multiplied by 1 over sine x plus 1. Now what we are going to do here is to write the tangent as a sine x divided by a cosine x. Okay, and then we multiply by a 1 over sine x plus 1. Do not expand. If you watch the first one in the bracket with a common denominator of a cosine, this is what we have. And then in the second bracket, we find a common denominator which is also a sine, and this is 1 plus a sine. Now if you watch the numerator carefully and you expand, I have 1 plus a sine x minus a sine x minus a sine squared x divided by a cosine x and a sine x. Of course, you can realize the numerator has a difference of 2 squares also. So when you finish simplifying the numerator, I have 1 minus sine squared x divided by cosine x. Also, recall that 1 minus sine squared is a cosine squared. Why? Because we know that a sine squared x plus a cosine squared x is equal to 1. So you can see from here that the cosine squared x is 1 minus sine squared x. Thank you. So when I divide by a cosine x and a sine x, and I cancel one of the cosine out, provided the cosine is not equal to 0. Remember, we don't divide by 0, so in this case the cosine x is never 0. So we cancel one of the cosine from the numerator. I have a cosine x divided by a sine x. Now what's a cosine x divided by a sine x is what is called a cotangent x, and the cotangent is 1 over tangent x, and that is the proof. It's very simple. Now we want to use this thing to solve this equation for values of x lie between 0 and 180 degrees. Remember that we are dividing by a sine, so there are some values that we cannot include here. Especially we are going to exclude when x is equal to 0 and x is equal to 180 degrees. Why? Because when x becomes 0, sine x is 0, and then when x becomes 180 degrees, sine x becomes also 0. So our x excludes 0 and 180, although we are supposed to solve between 0 and 180. If there are numbers in this range, that makes the denominator undefined, that makes sine x undefined, we are going to take them out. Okay, let's start. Now, from the first part, the left hand side is 1 over tangent. That's what we just proved. Is equal to 2 tangent squared x. Okay, now our x can never be 0, or our x can never be equal to 180 degrees, because when this is so, what do we have? We have the sine, 1 over sine is undefined. So in this case, the tangent will be defined when x is not equal to 0 and x is not equal to 180 degrees. So I can multiply both sides by a tangent. So I have 2 tangent cube x is equal to 1. So I have tangent cube x is equal to 1 over 2. So x is, tangent x is equal to the cube root of 1 divided by 2. So I have x is equal to, use your calculator, take arctan or tangent inverse of cube root divided by 1 over 2. And can see that this is equal to approximately equal to 38 degrees, 0.4. 38.4 degrees by your calculator to 1 decimal place. And that is the end of the solution. It's as simple as ABC. If you like what you have seen, subscribe to my channel and you're going to see more examples soon. Thank you very much and have a good